We are totally prepared for the second option, not a preferred option. But if we take that option, it will be devastating. I can tell you that, devastating for North Korea. That's called the military option. If we have to take it, we will. He's acting very badly. He's saying things that should never, ever be said. And we're replying to those things, but it's a reply. It's not an original statement, it's a reply. But the things that he said over the last year, and if you look back, the things that he said to past administrations, North Korea is a situation that should have been handled 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and 5 years ago, and it could have been handled much more easily. You had various administrations, many administrations, which left me a mess, but I'll fix the mess. So we'll see what happens with North Korea.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Well, you may have missed it because of all the NFL stuff, but President Trump sent out a tough tweet on Saturday about North Korea. And I'm quoting now, just heard Foreign Minister of North Korea speak at UN. If he echoes the thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. Now, that prompted this response from North Korea's foreign minister, quote, since the United States declared war on our country, we will have every right to make countermeasures, including the right to shoot down U.S. strategic bombers, even when they are not inside the airspace border of our country. Here now is Claudia Rosette, Independent Women's Forum Foreign Policy Fellow and Forbes.com Foreign Affairs columnist and a sometimes visitor to North Korea. Claudia, should Americans actually be prepared for war with this country?
Unfortunately, David, yes. That's actually where it's heading. And we should not forget that in 1950, when the Korean War broke out, but from the North invading the South, a surprise invasion, we were surprised. And, yeah, you should be, because at this point, it's brinksmanship. I'm looking less at the words. North Korea loves to make all sorts of hyperbolic statements, but the actual capabilities that they've got, they can now reach us with intercontinental ballistic missiles.
But, Claudia, it would be suicide. Yeah. There's just no question about it. The president wasn't exaggerating when he said essentially we'll obliterate North Korea if they push it to that level. Will North Korea's generals and all the other people in his administration follow this guy to suicide?
Quite possibly, David. I know it sounds crazy, but we have to hope that he will calculate he shouldn't do it. But here's the further problem with this. Even if he doesn't launch a missile at the United States or shoot down an American warplane outside of Korean airspace, in international airspace, he is demonstrating to the entire world what you can do in the way of bullying, threatening, and developing weapons to attack not only our allies, but the United States itself, and get away with it.
Yeah, but Claudia, hold on a second. I got to push back a bit, because what he has not faced before is the kind of executive order that we just saw released last Friday from President Trump, in which he essentially created an embargo, if you will, a financial embargo of North Korea. He's never seen anything like that before. This may have some effect in stopping his ability to get stuff.
David, I wouldn't bank on it.
Really?
The problem is it may constrict him for a while. Sanctions erode. Sanctions are porous. We've had every sign for a generation now that China is not really on board with this. And while they may be looking very eager to cooperate at the moment, our attention will turn to other things.
Wow.
China is a masterful country at evading sanctions. It's what they did big time in Iraq.
Yeah,
They've done it with Iran.
We've seen it happen before. There's no question about it. I have to ask you a quick question, a final question. The president expanding his travel ban to include North Korea, also to include Venezuela, and yet his critics still call this a Muslim ban, even though it now has North Korea and Venezuela, which are not Muslim. How do they see that?
It's not a Muslim ban. What he's trying to do is control infiltration of the United States by very hostile powers, whether non-state actors, jihadi terrorist groups, or in the case of North Korea, North Koreans. Now, not a lot of North Koreans come to the United States. It's more a message in that case, and I hope that they'll waive it for defectors to come here and testify and tell us about the horrors of North Korea. Okay. But if he wants to do something more effective on the North Korean front, David, he should, A, put them back on the list of terrorist-sponsoring states, diplomatically, I mean, and start a push to kick them out of the United Nations. Yeah. Things that they might feel on the in the international diplomatic scene.
Yeah, I read your piece on a terrific piece. Let's hope that happens. Claudia Rosette, great to see you, Claudia. Thank you very much.
North Korea's missile program is racing ahead.
Mr. President, will you attack North Korea?
And U.S. President Donald Trump is using language that we've never heard a president using on Korea.
Fire and fury.
And that's led to open talk about military options on the Korean Peninsula, something that you generally don't hear very often.
We have many military options, and the president wanted to be briefed on each one of them.
A war would put the lives of millions of civilians at risk, so it's still an extremely unlikely scenario.
But if it were to happen, here's how experts see it playing out. What could trigger a military intervention?
Experts say the U.S. could take action to stop Pyongyang from developing a nuclear-tipped missile capable of reaching New York or Washington. The U.S. has also warned North Korea that it could take military action if North Korea were to engage in a particularly provocative fashion.
Any threat to the United States or its territories, including Guam or our allies, will be met with a massive military response.
Analysts say that Pyongyang is highly unlikely to start a conflict unless it believes that the U.S. is about to strike and that the regime itself is under threat. In times of high stress, even a mishap could become a trigger, like a North Korean missile test that inadvertently lands onto Japanese soil, or a disaster like an accident at North Korea's nuclear reactor. So what would a U.S. military operation look like? Washington could try to take Kim Jong-un's regime by surprise and conduct a short, intense military campaign.
What happened is a massive American air campaign. That was the plan in 1994 for the beginning of the North Korean nuclear program. So I have the feeling that the Americans would target a lot of North Korean facilities in a big, big strike.
American military could rely on forces already in the region in order to avoid tipping off North Korea, such as using aerial bombers, land-based cruise missiles, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles.
Through surgical strikes, the U.S. Army would destroy Pyongyang's nuclear facilities, missile launch sites, and mobile launch vehicles. But there's a catch. The U.S. may not know where all of the North's nuclear assets and its missile facilities are.
Wars are never as simple as they may seem at first.
But one thing I will not allow is a nation such as Iraq.
And as history shows, it's highly unlikely that the U.S. could avoid a more strenuous confrontation.
Once military action is taken, it is hard to predict the exact consequences.
If Pyongyang judges that the regime itself is under direct threat, they may respond in even more aggressive ways.
It could mobilize its conventional weapons near the demilitarized zone to attack U.S. and South Korean military forces in the region, as well as Seoul and its surroundings, a metropolitan area of 25 million. North Korea could also use its vast network of secret tunnels to move troops around the country and perhaps even send soldiers to the south. But analysts say these strategies would expose the North Korean army to counterattacks. The regime could even turn to weapons of mass destruction. That includes banned chemical weapons such as sarin and VX gas. However, intelligence analysts at Stratfor say that only 1% of North Korea's likely stockpile of chemical weapons could be deployed immediately, since North Korea doesn't have enough warheads. And then there are the nuclear weapons. That's the most catastrophic scenario.
They could potentially target U.S. facilities, again, in places like Guam and in places like Japan with the nuclear weapons.
Dropping a nuclear bomb on Seoul would put North Korea's own existence at stake.
You could just drop them on large civilian agglomerations like Seoul and kill 1 million people. That's really risky, though, because once you start doing that, then the whole world turns against you.
The tragedy of war is well enough known. It doesn't need another characterization beyond the fact that it would be catastrophic.
For more than 6 decades following the Korean War, a potential conflict with North Korea was thought to be too dangerous and devastating for all parties. Analysts project the death toll could run into the hundreds of thousands or even millions.
There is no military operation that could be conceived that does not include large numbers of casualties in South Korea.
대륙간 탄도 로켓 장착용 수소탄 시험에서 완전 성공.
With Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un exchanging heated rhetoric, the situation on the Korean Peninsula has arguably never been this unpredictable. There's a real chance that the rhetoric could turn into action.
The U.S. Air Force has started taking delivery of massive ordnance penetrators. These 30,000-pound bunker busters, known as MOPs, can penetrate 30 stories of reinforced concrete. MOPs can be delivered by B-52 and B-2 bombers. Previous generation GBU-28 bunker busters, in service with the U.S. and Israel, can penetrate 6 meters of reinforced concrete. The new MOP can penetrate up to 60 meters of reinforced concrete and reach past 40 meters through hard rock. The MOP can hit deeply buried and hardened targets, such as the ones Iran has built to protect its nuclear facilities.
Kalashnikov.
面对棘手的北韩核武问题，一些军事分析师建议动用新的微波巡弋飞弹来攻击北韩指参单位和飞弹基地，因为这种武器可以阻止北韩的核武发射，却不会杀死任何人。商业内幕 Business Insider 报道，这种微波武器的正式名称是反电子高功率微波高级飞弹专案 Counter Electronics High Power Microwave Advanced Missile Project， 缩写简称为冠军 CHAMP。 这套武器可以安装在波音公司的 AGM-86B 空射巡弋飞弹里，由 B-52 轰炸机发射。冠军与一般安装高爆炸弹或核弹的武器不同，它是到达目标区时会发射强烈微波脉冲，而这些微波脉冲就会烧毁电子元件和电气线路。在先前的测试中，冠军已经可以成功的关闭房屋大楼的电子设备。 前美国空军司令大卫·德普图拉 （David Daptula） 在接受美国国家广播公司 （NBC） 采访时提出，可以使用这种新型飞弹来处理北韩危机。他相信冠军可以用来关闭在发射台将涉及的北韩弹道飞弹。德普图拉说，不管如何，指挥和控制中心都有各种电子设备，他们对高功率微波非常脆弱。民主党参议员马丁·海因里希 （Martin Heinrich） 也支持冠军飞弹。然而，据他所述，目前冠军飞弹没有被广泛部署，原因是美国国防部对性能还有些不满意。不过，他认为已经很够用了。而众议院国防委员会共和党议员邓肯·杭特 （Duncan Hunter） 也觉得武器就应该当用则用，不应对性能顾虑太多。虽然冠军飞弹似乎是个解决危机的不错选择，但是它也有使用上的难处。首先，美国必须先确知在重点目标所在，而确认的侦察过程之前必须相当接近北韩，这意味必须侵入北韩的空域执行征兆，这可能会被北韩认定是战争行为而立刻发动反击。而且微波飞弹也有方式破解，假如重点军事装备安装了电磁防护和绝缘层，那么电子战与微波攻击的难度就会增加。如果北韩很细心的用关机的方式保护电子系统，要发现这些目标也较更为困难。据 NBC 的报道，确实有军方官员向白宫介绍了冠军系统及其实用性。至于川普总统会不会纳入参考，成为面对北韩危机的战略手段，仍有待观察。中时电子报